America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Have the minutes of the previous meeting been read and accepted by the supervisors?
I've read them and I make a motion to accept the previous meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. Treasurer's report.
Received since last meeting, $4,199.30 was collected from real estate transfer tax. Interest of $730.10 was accrued in purchase account. $100 was collected from zoning, $25 from rent, $5,187.28 from DCNR, $400 from liquor control board, another $400 from magisterial district court, and a reimburse of $24.24 from Western Insurance.
Thank you, Shawana.
You're welcome.
Roadmaster.
And in the last 2 weeks, we finished up the big ditch on Vandermark that we've been working on, taking out all the small stone, putting big stone back into it, and putting the smaller stone on the edge of it. We graded the hill going up Vandermark on the right-hand side and added a bunch of millings to it to make that better. We've got some mowing on the township roads. We're going to try and hit it one more time before winter. We fixed 2 washouts, one on Shakopee Road, one on Fire Tower, and we did the curb back up on Moon Valley Road.
Thank you, Gary. Zoning, no report?
There was a change of use by Arrow LLC. It's Nanny's Closet now. It's a retail store now, so the sign was changed.
Oh, okay. Very good. Public comment period number 1. Public comment. Anybody? Rachel?
I just wanted to ask why the township doesn't have a different set of pay rates for the different tasks that employees are doing. I know that we have a supervisor who has one pay rate as an operator, but then there's custodial work, there's other lighter work happening all under the same pay rate. So why don't we have different structures so that it's based on what the task is and what the skill level is that's required for the particular time that's being spent?
Because everybody who works in that back has to have a CDL license. CDL licenses right now are in demand. So they really don't get paid enough, I'm going to be honest with you. One of them is at $18 an hour, I think.
$18.50.
Yeah, which is very low for CDL. Okay, it's very low. You have to have a CDL in order to plow snow here. We also have the heavy equipment you have to drive that. Some of us have extra licenses. I have 16 plus heavy equipment licenses from the state of Pennsylvania. Plus I have my inspection class 7 license. I have my spraying license. I have a whole variety of them. One of the other guys who was a PennDOT guy who came along with us also has a lot of those licenses. But you're right, he should be actually paid more. Now custodial really doesn't there's not a lot of it in here. An hour. I do it. It's an hour. I scoot through it all, back in the floors, back out on the roads.
I'd pay that, my cleaning lady, more than $18 an hour.
Over $23 an hour.
Oh, yeah. You're going to pay probably $100 every time they come in here. Matter of fact, we did do a little study on that about 5 years ago here. Couldn't do it. Just too much money. You're talking $100 every time they walk through that door.
Also, Rachel, supervisor's pay is set by the auditors, not by the supervisor.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
I was a little curious about that because
That's
they,
done by the auditors.
and I read the auditor's minutes, and they capped your salary, Gary. They set
Right.
you at a specific salary,
Right.
but for Mr. Clark, they didn't, and by July, he was already ready to exceed what you make in a whole year, which is a lot.
That's not true. I
That's
would
what
never
the pay
exceed.
stuff said.
It will never exceed that. The reason why is because we're coming to a close with some of the programs. It will never exceed the roadmaster. And my work is when I come in, I clock it. Okay, I go on equipment and I'm out. Everybody sees me. They know where I'm at. They know what I'm doing. It's the way it works. When you go out, you clock out. It's physical work, okay? When you come in the wintertime, you're plowing snow, you come in, you clock in, you clock out. That's the way it should be done. Now, I'm on a part-time basis, and I make sure it's part-time, okay? And I know you've researched all my paperwork, okay? And it definitely is only 20 hours a week or 25 hours a week at the very most, that's it. And the reason being is to keep it down. The other one is Harvey, he also does the same thing, 20 hours, 25 hours. And then we have Nikki. Nikki comes on every now and then. Because you can't go out and do some of the projects with one guy. It's just not, it's not safe, to be honest with you. I've had a lot of safety programs. We just try to make it as safe as we can, getting by with what we have. All right? So as far as separating pay, I wouldn't separate the pays. I think we had talked about that one time. If you don't have a CDL, you can't come on. Bottom line, you can't work here because there's CDL trucks. So, you know, where's the separation for an hour in here? You know what I mean? You're gonna come in here for $17 and do this? Are you? I'm just asking. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, well, anyway.
PennDOT's gonna have trouble this year already, for drivers.
Like finding drivers?
Yeah,
The minimum wages going out are $72,000 a year for CDL drivers. That's the minimum. Okay, you can look in the paper. They're in demand. None of the young guys wants to do driving. That's what happened. They just don't want to get into
How
it.
much
I have
training
to
is
tell my
involved in
dad where he
getting
can
that?
find 72,000, because he has a CDL, but he doesn't make anywhere near that.
Well, tell them go right over to Milltown. They're hiring right now. Day drivers, be home every night and every weekend. There you go. It's right in the, matter of fact, they've been posting that in the paper for 6 months, and they can't get drivers.
And
So if you really want to work, it's there. It's there. No, it's not PennDOT, it's over Milltown. PennDOT is at almost 20 an hour for bringing you on, but then there's perks. They got perks. You know, they got the overtime, they got the double time, they got the triple time, and quadruple time for holidays. So none of that is paid here. So we work Christmases and all that. If you remember, you get nothing. You get the straight pay. Now, last year, we finally changed that because it was wrong. I mean, for me, it was wrong. I wasn't going to come in because why would I? I've been away from my family for, I think we counted about 12 of those Christmases. And when you're away from your kids, and I raised my kids, you know, that's a bit much. You know, you're asking a bit much for nothing. So, anyway, did we answer your question? Okay. Anybody else in the public comment?
May I ask a question with regards to the proposed zoning amendment?
Sure.
We have covered the
State your name just for the,
Amy Eisenberg, Milford Township resident since 2005. We've covered this number of 100 dwellings for the density change. I am wondering how the supervisors arrived at a number of 20 acres for where we were going to tickle that zoning amendment.
well, actually, if you remember, you probably weren't here.
I don't remember, I started
Okay.
coming in April,
Okay.
and that's when I was
This has been going on for 2 years. Started out with 3,000 square feet, as we all know, okay? And actually, when we sent it off to county, they didn't even have a problem with that one, 3,000 square feet per apartment, if you remember. And then we got thinking about it. You know, what happened was a little mathematics got involved. There was a piece of property at the top here, I think it's the Lattimore property. Wasn't that the one I brought up? And I said, hey, they could put 2,800 apartments in there at this rate because of 3,000 square feet. And we said, that's a bit much, and it shouldn't be that much. So really what happened was the three of us come up with 20 acres, 100 apartments, and that's all you get. And that means if you got 100 acres in that zone, that's all you get is 100 apartments.
But why 20 acres and not 15, or why not
I
5?
I think what it did was it cut out the smaller ones that you didn't worry about so much. You worried more about the bigger ones, okay?
So as a matter of public record, this had nothing to do with this specific property being 20 acres and the presentation made by Legend Properties for that 20 acres.
Now, I've explained that one time too, and that's for people who haven't been here. That was brought up, I think it was about 2 years ago, not quite 2 years ago. It was almost 2 years ago. It sparked something in me that when I made changes 4 or 5 years ago to the zoning, which was a 25% lot coverage, which would make me build on 5 acres out of 20. We did a lot of changes, but at the time, we were also included this mixed use, but we took it out. The reason why we took it out was just expanding it too much at the time. But when they came in, it sparked the attention. Hey, you know what? What's wrong with mixed use? There's nothing wrong with mixed use. So that's how that came to be.
I think there's nothing wrong with mixed use, however, I would, as a resident, would caution you with the density per that mixed use. As a resident who made an emergency phone call for somebody who was medically in crisis on Friday and had 2 EMS units from Milford Borough respond to my house in Milford Township, I would be very concerned about leaning further with 100 additional households on a volunteer EMS squad from Milford Borough. If you do not want to work with them with regards to what you're doing to housing and zoning in this municipality, how dare you go to them to utilize their services? It put me in a very compromised position. It reminded me how vulnerable we are as a municipality with 0 services, on how dependent we are on our neighbors. And then for you to compound that with 100 additional households is highly irresponsible. And I would hold you accountable. If this thing goes through, I don't doubt that people will be lining up. If there's a delay in emergency response time to their household in terms of saving a loved one, I hold you responsible.
I understand. I do understand. It's a good thing for that $40 million project over there in Port Jervis going through with that hospital.
He was
Maybe-
turned
maybe
away
they'll
from Port
expand their-
Jervis. My brother was
But
turned
maybe
away
they'll
from
expand
Port
their-
Jervis on Friday night.
Yeah, but maybe they'll expand their services for
We don't
everybody.
have a hospital, we have inadequate medical facilities, and you are all responsible.
Yeah, but it's a $40 million upgrade. We all do agree on that. So maybe they'll expand that for
Gary,
all
we're
of
not
us.
there. We're not there as a community. I am emotionally invested in this,
Yeah.
and not on my watch is this happening in my community.
Well, I understand where you're
And I'll
coming
leave it
from.
at that.
Well,
Yeah.
you're talking about the ambulance group?
Correct. I'm talking about the ambulance, I'm talking about the fact that we need to cross a state border in order to use their hospital. I'm talking about leaning on Milford Borough, who we don't want to work with unless it benefits us for their emergency services.
Don't we pay
Don't we
them?
make a significant
inappropriate.
We
donation?
make a significant donation to the
Very
Milford
significant.
Fire Department
About
every year.
26,000. Yeah, very significant to donate to them, just to make, make it right.
If I was
We've
in the
had-
insurance business and weighing risk and then asking them to upgrade their services and the number of volunteers that they can call on, they're already pressed for volunteers. We all know that.
Absolutely.
So how are we gonna put 100 more households on top of those volunteers?
But if you
Whether
did-
or not we're paying for it, we do not have. To your point, we don't have enough plow truck drivers when the next storm gets here. Because we are not in a position as having border states of New York and New Jersey, whose pay grade is a lot higher than Pennsylvania, we can't recruit emergency plow drivers in our community. How are you going to put in clean conscience 100 more households to lean on that fire squad and on that EMS department?
Well, actually, New York State pays less than PennDOT. I just want you to know that I do know. They're
Then
very
why
similar.
can't we get the plow drivers? Why can't we get the
There just isn't
CDL
the
guys?
CDL
Because we
drivers.
can't-
The
we can't-
construction workers are busy. We all see what's going on out there. There's a lot of money going on in construction. So they're staying on their summer jobs. Listen, I was there when PennDOT started with the temporary operators back in the 80s, okay? I know how it works. And on good years, when there's a lot of money flowing out there in these highway projects, those drivers stay with them, okay? They don't come to us. But on slow years, where the economy slows down, they flood to us. And it just happens to be a good year. And the ones that are out there are not coming on board because they're getting paid union scale wages out there. Now, when we talk about that kind of wage, you're talking about PennDOT employees with their benefits, with their leave pay, and everything included, and it really jacks it up, so they stay out there.
That doesn't make us safer as a
I
community.
understand that. I understand.
And that's your job as a Milford Township supervisor.
Yeah, it's also our job to look at, the best ways to look at things, okay? And the mixed use, to me, it does cut out, 60 or 80, Mr. Seacrest said, of houses that could potentially be built on these properties? So you're
Mr.
actually taking
Seacrest
it
has
down,
since
not up?
resigned because he didn't like the.
He's not lying. He did a very good job, I thought, of laying it out. And when I looked at it, and he said, hey, look, you actually can only put 600 in, but you could put 680 now. you know, you have to look at those things. Oh, wait a minute, we're taking it down, not up. Yeah, you're putting it in areas instead of spreading it out all over the place. But that's another thing. Yes,
Chuck O'Neill, Milford. To build on that point, your support document actually factors in 800 apartments, not 100, 800 overall in the township. So if we can't support 100, we sure as heck can't support 800 of them. So I don't see how, in good conscience, you could pass this.
well, wait, where'd the 800 come from? Because there's only 6 properties. So how could that be?
It's in your support document. It's in the
Oh,
build-out.
the build-out, no, wait, the build-out analysis was done 3 different ways, so it depends on which way you're looking at it. The reason why we had that done is because we wanted to look at all 3 different ways, 3,000 square feet, if you can remember, 20 acres with 100 apartments, and then there was one more way, and I couldn't remember what it was. But we were just looking at all the different ways it could be done, wanted to do the best way that we thought for the township.
He's right, the support document says 800.
Support that.
Yeah, I'll go back and read
It says
I don't want to
800.
misquote you, I'll read it again. Yes.
Ed Greggers, Milford Township since 1983. I share that same concern because of something that happened this past week, and that is a letter from the prominent real estate in town that offered to buy out everybody on our road, which is up Route 6, called Boulder Road, just on the other side of 84, adjacent, incidentally, to 27 acres that needs to be developed supposedly. And on the other side of our road is another 20 acres that's undeveloped.
One on the other side is in Digman Township.
Yeah, they're not.
No, not on our side of Route 6.
You
but
said on the other side
on the other side of our road,
Okay.
Boulder Road.
But
And
you
that's
also
a-
put in your article and your letter to the editor that we were gonna run a,
Can I answer?
Yeah, but I'm
That's
just-
my question. Go
well, I
ahead.
know what you're saying, because I just read your letter to the editor. You're saying that Milford Township's also pushing to put a sewer line up there.
I didn't say anybody was pushing it. I said, and based on these numbers that we're hearing, there in fact are other pieces of land that have been kind of outside of our thinking prior to this because we've been focusing on the 3-lane down here. But Milford Township runs up that way, and in fact, there are the same kind of concerns that if we put another 100 residences on one side of us, another 100 on the other 20 acres that are on the other side of us, where are those people going to go for the kinds of services that people in Milford Township need, that I need, and I've had now for 35 years in this township? And I will hold you responsible too.
You mean for services, what kind of services are we talking
Whether
about?
it's
Emergency services.
Emergency, ambulance.
Life and death
Well, you do
situation.
know that the county and the townships are working together to try to get in paramedics. You do know that, right?
And I would like a further question is, what conversations have been held with any possible realtors or developers by members of the township supervisors
And how
Never
they-
saw it.
about that part of Milford Township?
Not a one.
Not a one.
Have you read it on Facebook? It must be true.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
Don't,
That's a big one.
That's patronizing. Why
I
would you
know,
do that?
but it's like,
Why
this
would
is-
you do that?
When I
Do
read
what?
that stuff.
It's
it was.
insulting.
It's insulting.
No.
That was
when
Let
you
the
read
man
the
finish
thing-
his point.
Well, I thought he was finished.
He just asked a question, you didn't have to bring Facebook into it.
Yeah.
You could have said, we did not have
Yeah,
a one,
me too.
nobody
I read
had a
the same.
conversation. It was patronizing, rude, and unprofessional.
I-
And I'm being objective,
It's
I want to hear
unfair.
both sides of the story,
I just-
but that was not right.
Yes, over here.
Tom Miller, Milford resident for 30 years.
Milford Borough, Milford Township.
Township.
Milford Township.
So folks, how about this proposal completely changing the character of the area? I would say most of us came to this area because of its scenic beauty, because of a beautiful Victorian town surrounded by scenic beauty, maybe not unlike Cape May, New Jersey. Okay, they get a lot of tourism for that reason, we get a lot of tourism for that reason. How do you think maybe the residents of Cape May would respond to a housing development like this? I don't think too well. Maybe we should think carefully about who we're attracting or who we wouldn't be attracting. Those tourist dollars could go down as a result of something like this. I just think we should really think carefully about that.
Your tourist dollars in Milford Township you're talking about?
I'm talking about the whole region.
The whole region.
Being, because, I mean, this, Milford Township is a large space. I don't think people are attracted by apartment complexes. I don't know about you, but I know I'm not. And I know a lot of people feel the way I do.
Okay, now, one of the things...
We're not New Jersey.
Yeah, but one of the things you gotta understand, there's no project before us. And every one of these properties right now can be built commercially, and we just can't say anything about it, other than where to put the shrubs and where the driveway goes.
No, I mean the density.
Yeah, okay, but I'm just saying though, they can be built, and we couldn't stop that portion of it. I just want you to know that commercially. Okay, so this is just adding the residential to it, and I understand where you're coming from. 1/3 of this county, 137,000 acres of land, is actually open land to everybody that can never be built on. That's 1/3 of this county that will always be enjoyed by everybody. I was here when nobody was here. Penny was here, Gary was here, okay? We're, locals have always been here. We remember back in the 70s when the developments were just coming in. We said the same thing as you. And then it all kind of came together because, some of the people I've met, some of the nicest people in the world out of those developments. Just let you know what my opinion is.
And so, as far as you're concerned, back in the day, I remember when this county had one functioning stoplight. Do you welcome additional traffic problems, additional traffic lights?
Well, one of the things I don't do is, is for me, is look at somebody else and say, not to do that when it's already been done. In other words, I hate it when, I moved here and now I don't want anybody else to move here. That's not the way it should be. We should be welcoming people, And most of the people that move into these places here, it's already been gone over. Our people are gonna come from the houses up on the hills because they're retiring. To be honest with you, I'd probably do it. Move down there, sell my house, then the money is to all move into the houses. That really does happen. There's only 12 students, they figured, that would move into 100 apartments too. That's statewide, that's already been covered. So it's the 55 and older crowd, the 25 to 30 crowd. And the reason why is the ones getting out of college, the ones that are retiring. I'm just telling you what, the Seacrest said, look at all the facts, and I'm like, oh my God, I never would have dreamed that. But when you talk to some people, I have talked to people up Curtis Lake, and they said, boy, we'd like to sell our house and move into a place down in the valley because they could walk to Milford. Have sidewalks, walk to Milford. That was always my thing, there should be sidewalks.
Well, that's obviously not gonna happen here at the Santos Farm.
Well, Santos Farm, there's nothing been presented. There is nothing before this board. I don't look at it that way, I'm looking at everything. And my vision always was there should have been a sidewalk all along here, all the way down. So that way you can walk to Milford, no matter where you are. If you're in Milford, you can walk to the stores down here. Just seems like it makes sense. And then have it flow right into Milford, have the lights, same type of lights. Wouldn't that be beautiful? But that's me. I'm gonna call on somebody different.
Tricia Lefferts, Milford, Delaware Township.
Delaware Township.
So what you're talking about, Gary, I think is points around like a comprehensive plan. Sidewalks and things with a vision of where this should or would or could go. And I think if that's the vision of the supervisors, then it would be prudent to engage in a comprehensive plan for the municipality and then for the multi-municipality, saying that you want to do it as an individual and have the flavor of the township, not the flavor of the borough, but then look at how that can sort of become something that relates to one another. It's not to say that you shouldn't have your own identity within that. Before you make a zoning change, because it's going to take into account what that vision is, rather than have something that's a zoning change and then have it's a reactionary situation at that point.
Well,
And I think you've even touched on that at points, and I agree with you, that you're trying to be proactive. And I think that's a positive thing, but being proactive takes planning, and I think the planning, I pounded the point, but I'm gonna pound the point, because when I sit and listen, and I've been here and I am listening, I'm trying to see where everyone's coming from on it. I think there's a common ground to engaging in a comprehensive plan prior to making a zoning. change of this magnitude.
Well, the comprehensive plan was always a dream, you do know that, it's not a guideline you have to follow, it's a dream of a
I
township.
agree with all of that, I'm not saying put it in
You
the
know, because
document
sometimes
and
you
put it
just
on the
can't
shelf
follow
there.
it.
I understand that, but I still think we're at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people showing up to try to say that to you in different ways. And it appears, it appears that you're not listening if you say it's a document that's just a dream, because they aren't necessarily always used in that way. You can do better than that, is my opinion.
Yeah, and then we're being actually proactive, not reactive. That's what's going on here. We're actually looking at something before it does happen. Because right now, if they were to put an application in and it would go before a zoning hearing board, none of us have a say in it. So we're trying to be, and I'm very grateful that no application has been dropped in. Because if they did that, it could really throw the loops in the whole thing. So being proactive.
And why is that? Because the zoning isn't in place.
Yeah, exactly, because there is no zoning. So that's the problem. There is no zoning.
Yes,
No mixed use.
There's existing zoning.
No mixed use.
There's no mixed use. They could actually bulldoze that thing right through, and they're well aware of that, and they've been very gracious, anybody looking at these properties, not to do that to us. To actually let us kind of flow through this to get something in place before it happens to us.
And where do you get
Blindside.
information that they could bulldoze that through? Is that illegal?
Well-
Mr. Reinhardt?
No, but there is no provisions in the zoning ordinance for mixed use, and mixed use is a reasonable use done everywhere else in Pike County.
Right.
And therefore, they would have standing in court or provide the township with a curative amendment, which would then go ultimately to the supervisors or attempt an application which.
So you would consider it a curative amendment?
Yeah, because we don't allow mixed uses at all in our ordinance.
Isn't it true, though, that would get them the use, but it wouldn't necessarily get them the density increase?
That's correct.
Yeah, but there's a very real possibility it would get them a higher density, which would be scary. Now, think about it, they could go back to 3,000 square feet on it. The county didn't even balk at that when we sent that to them, which I couldn't believe that.
The county suggested a cap.
Yeah, no, when we sent it to them back in February,
The county
and they sent
suggested
it
a
back.
cap. In their January letter to you, they suggested a cap. They didn't tell you a specific number, but they suggested a cap on the
Right.
number of
But they
units.
never balked at 3,000 square feet.
That's your opinion?
Can you imagine? No, it's not like that, it's in writing.
Oh, okay. I'm just
That's why I'm
asking.
like, oh my God, and then when we started looking at those properties, and I know, I went to her first thing, I said, they should put 2,800 apartments up there. That
A
scared the hell
capital
out of
number,
me.
right, right. But conservation design would say cluster them together and then leave the rest of the area open space. So,
But there's enough property to do that.
well, I'm gonna jump in just if that's okay, Gary.
Thanks.
Yes.
I wanted to ask about something else, and that's the sewer. The TARS report was, I'm sorry, Kim, was submitted to the DEP, and it hasn't been responded to yet, but there are applications already, there are funding mechanisms being engaged. And I just wanted, I know you already have this, and these are the minutes from July from the sewer group, and I'll give this to you, but I just want to read out loud. Kim Loftus, this is page 4, Kim Loftus added that we do have a mandatory hookup. There will be
If we had
people,
to use them.
if you use USDA.
Yeah.
Right, so, there will be people who do not feel that they have to hook up, but if that line is in a certain amount, which we don't tell you, but you have to set some type of, within so many feet of this line, has to hook up. And I'm gonna skip to the next page where it says, you have to have some sort of mandatory hookup because it just makes it sustainable. If half the people say no, you're not gonna have the base to fulfill the financial responsibility. So I just wanna ask you, are you gonna come out and say that if the sewer is going in, mandatory hookups are gonna be a thing? Because we've been having this conversation over and over, and I think many of us realized in the beginning that if there was no mandatory hookups, you were not gonna reach financial feasibility. And I heard people saying, oh, no, can
West
we?
School does not have mandatory hookup. I don't want to ever have mandatory hookup.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point where if it gives Milford Borough what they need, because I think Milford Borough is who really and truly needs the central sewage, I would run it through and say, you know what, if nobody wants to have central sewage in Milford Township, I'm at the point so be it.
Yeah, if they don't want it, but if they want it and it's a
Yeah.
failed system, that's
Yeah.
a different thing, because you now ran the line past their house.
Because we could
They
just
should
run
be
it
able to
right
opt
through and
in.
not have to even bother doing anything. The zoning would go away, we wouldn't have to worry about it. You could do mixed use, you could make it so that it's 20 apartments, and that's the most.
Rachel, I don't want to have the comments taken out of context. I was at that meeting in July, and I think what Ms. Loftus from RUS, what she was basically referring to was the second-class township code provision for sewer, which says that if you're within 150 feet of a main line, that the township could pass a mandatory hookup ordinance, as long as you're within 150 feet. If your building's within 150 feet of the line, you could be forced to hook up. And that's RUS's policy, and that's one of the reasons that on sewer projects that I've been involved with, that we haven't used RUS, because they do have that mandatory hookup policy.
Well, in the last part of that statement specifically says you're not gonna achieve financial sustainability if you don't make people hook
And
up.
I don't know how you can say that
In her
without having a
opinion.
feasibility study.
And we don't have a feasibility.
Without a
study.
feasibility study,
We
I
don't
don't know
have
how
anything.
anyone
But we
can
don't
say
even have
that.
a TARS report that's approved, but as I understand, we're pushing Senator Baker to put a line item in the state budget for funding for this project, and, we don't.
Who's doing that?
Who's pushing this under?
Who's pushing that?
Who's doing that?
That was what was reported at the August meeting of the sewer group, as I understand it.
Is that true,
For
Ernie? You
for
were on the
redevelopment
committee.
capital assistance grant.
They were gonna ask for assistance.
They were gonna ask for assistance, but they don't have a line
They're trying
item.
very hard to get assistance and get it in there.
The
Whether it
redevelopment
happens-
capital assistance program starts with a line item
Yeah.
in the state budget.
Right.
There's no
It has to be
guarantee.
budgeted.
Yes.
John,
Name, please.
John Kameen, Milford Borough. I asked it about a month ago about the sign on the property, stating that there was a development coming soon, whether they had a permit for that sign, and I believe the zoning officer was going to look into that.
Yes, I don't have an answer, I wasn't here at that meeting.
Yeah,
And he's not here, so.
and he's not here, so I'm not sure.
I can't answer you, John. That's gotta come from Sean.
Okay, is there a reasonable amount of time to expect a response? Because it's been a month now.
Why don't you check with the zoning officer? He's here every Monday.
I'll check with him. Second of all, on that sign, you said earlier that mixed use is not currently permitted,
No,
and that there's not a proposal in front of you by a specific developer.
nope.
So I'm going to read you the sign. Coming soon, mixed use development, Legends Properties, Inc.
It's a sign. We don't have anything before us. Did you get anything?
No.
No, I didn't get anything. I got nothing for mixed use on any property. There's a sign out there, it could say Santa Claus is coming too, but I'm just telling you, I've got nothing in here in writing for any mixed use. Okay? If we did, you'd be the first to know because it would be in the paper, I'm sure. And we have nothing before us. Yes, we all seen that sign, I also seen the one over here. It's got a pretty picture of a building on the front, right next to the Dollar General, did you see that? It's absolutely gorgeous, of the property next door, it's been there for 2 years. And it shows an office building and whatnot.
And is that office building a permitted use on that site?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, so the mixed use sign is not a permitted use on this
It
site.
doesn't matter, it's a sign that's been there for 2 years, like that one. I mean, why is it there? Think about it. And there's nobody.
That's my question, if
She
they
didn't
have a
sell the
permit for it?
property, so,
Why are we not enforcing these things?
enforcing,
Why are we not enforcing?
well, I wasn't here at the
I
meeting, so I'll look
think
into it tomorrow.
Milford
I will do
Township
that.
businesses should be accountable for signage permits, and if they are unpermitted, they should be enforced by the systems that we have in place. God forbid that sign blows over, hits a car, is the township assuming liability for not enforcing a sign that's been erected on a Milford Township property? Is it a free-for-all? If Coast Tire wants to put up 30-foot-high signage tomorrow, are you not going to cite them?
Yes.
Of course you will. So how can this professional sign
Well,
that
we
makes
won't
it
know.
very
But
easy
we
to
don't know.
identify
We have
who
to
put it
ask
up,
Sean.
why is that not enforced?
Yeah, I gotta ask the employee because he's the one who knows the rules and all that.
I know the hoops I jumped through when I had a coffee shop at Apple Valley. And I had to document what my signage looked like, what the material was, how big it would be, and when it would go up. And I had to do that, and that is the proper protocol. So this sign has stood here in excess of a year, 2 years, I'm not sure when it went up. But it reeks that the township has not done anything about it. Sorry.
So, Fred.
Yeah, in the back, Fred Weber, Milford Borough.
Thank you. So,
Hi, Fred.
since we had, there's no proposal in front of you and nothing's happening and this is just being considered separate and apart, how come nothing's ever been considered that's middle ground? Like townhouses, like what you have behind Prime Meats, which is very nice. Now, townhouses, I would argue, would generate a continuous flow of tax revenue, have people living here who are vested in the community, and would not be the, in my opinion, eyesore that you would get with a 3-story, 100-unit apartment building.
Well, it seems to be a need for apartments in this area, especially when you look at both boroughs and the amount of apartments that they have. There seems to be a need for them. So, me, why not apartments? And I'm sure they're not gonna be an eyesore, I'm sure of that. This township would never allow that, okay? Does Dollar General, as you know, has that false front that we made them put it on because we wanted this certain decor of Milford Township to Milford Borough, okay? That's why that's like that. Other ones aren't like that. But we would never allow, when it went for a conditional use, that would all come into play. And that's my answer on it. There seems to be a high demand for apartments right now.
Let me just finish that up. So, but again, it's never even been considered as an option. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's been 100 apartments. This is great. $2,000 a month, which no retiree like me and my wife would ever pay to move here into an apartment. And you don't have the jobs for young people that are employed around the area to pay that kind of money. And I gotta tell you, if you do actually move into this unit, I will bring a bottle of champagne. That would, to me, that would be pretty amazing.
There's a big
Okay,
difference.
but let me finish. So why was never any middle ground considered? Never. It was just never even addressed, never, it was just dismissed.
Didn't we do 3,000 square feet and all this
I
stuff?
still-
No, but that's,
I
no, I'm
still-
talking about if you say you made it 15, we talked about 15,000 square feet. And at that point, you can put up 24 townhouses. You could still have your strip mall, and you'd have a situation like you have by Prime Meats with those townhouses. Now, what's wrong with that?
This is a much larger piece of property. That's probably way less than half the size of the property we're talking about. What is there,
Scale it up.
24 of them now?
No, and you know what, though?
You were there on the-
I
on the
don't
building
think
of
that Fred is too far off the mark, and I don't, and if we can adjust things, I think either we're gonna go through and yay or nay this, or we're gonna go back and we're gonna try it again and figure out the right amount, because I was just talking to John Steve today. There's 20 apartments on 3 acres, 20 condos on 3 acres. So if you have 6 acres that's left over from their business, that's 40. I don't know what the formula is to make it all work. I really don't. I mean, I'm not saying that I am gonna vote for whatever is down in the,
20 on 3 acres?
3 acres.
Well,
3
they've got
acres.
20 acres. Do you know how many apartments that would be?
but I mean, to come up with the right formula.
Right.
But I don't know what it is.
Right,
It's
but
like,
at
and,
least, because I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
point here.
Yeah.
And I think it just always gets short shrift. It never,
Yeah.
you don't have an offer,
yep,
okay? Legend, forget legend.
yep,
This is up to us, to all of us as communities to discuss.
absolutely.
Well, it's gonna go to the planning meeting next week, and they'll decide on it, then it goes back to us, and
Yeah.
like I said, if it gets voted down, then they're gonna retry something else or whatever, okay?
But I think you definitely do need mixed use, absolutely.
And I don't, you
I don't
know,
think
I
anybody's
have no
arguing
problem
with
with
that. We
mixed
absolutely
use.
do.
If it's mixed use, that makes sense.
But again, this is also with central sewage, it's like there's too many things that were coming in at the wrong time. It was like the perfect storm, and it's just, it's become so out of control that I don't think we're in a place that we can even talk anymore. But I don't feel that 100 apartments, I am with you. I mean, it's like, I'm not completely convinced that this whole thing is the right way to go. But I think that whether it's apartments or whatever, I do feel that it should be a formula, I don't know what the formula is, I'll be honest with you, this is,
A planner would be a good person to engage to
but,
help with that.
yeah, and the planner, and the planner though, I don't even think they know.
No, they
You know,
don't.
That's the sad part, it's like to come up with the formula and to make the plans, that's the sad part, because there's so many variables, it's like, and the thing I don't like is it's like, with 20 acres, there's no saying that you're not gonna get sued because for 15. Believe me, I have heard all of this, I completely
Yeah, they
hear
would,
everything.
doesn't mean they win.
No, but it's like, I don't wanna put the township in the position
Yeah.
to do something like
The
this.
idea
I
is
think
not
they
to
would
get
get, I think
sued.
they would win.
Absolutely.
How would they
I
win?
agree with you. They
You
would
got
be-
an ordinance
Because
and
the
you,
sewer criteria is in place as well.
Yeah.
So if the sewer stops at Apple Valley, like it's initially being talked about, if it happens,
And that's the
right?
thing, I
So
hate
how many
talking in
20
these
acre
things.
parcels are you talking about? You're talking about this
6.
piece of property?
no, we're talking 6.
No.
No,
only
you're
one
talking
if it
about
stops
this
at
piece
Apple.
of
Oh,
property.
if it stops there,
You're
but,
talking about the Santos property.
but that's the whole catch to this.
And then you're talking about a Econopact that's already largely developed. So if you have 10, 12, 15 acres down the street, you're gonna come in and say, why can't I do it too? They didn't make enough properties have the ability to do this. Court, give me the right, because I should have the right too, and it will flip. And then the court will take it out of your hands and the court will decide
Right.
how
And
many
actually,
units on how
my
many.
other belief is too, like on Old Milford Road, I feel that half should be residential. I really do. It's like, that should all be residential. I don't know how you cut it off. You make the front end commercial and you do some type. So that means you have to limit what you're gonna give the people for the square footage to make it, but you can't just have it. I have a funny feeling, and I wish Sean was here tonight, when Reedfield Village went in, I think the town fathers came in and said, okay, we got caught with our pants down, we're not having any more, multi-use development. And
That's all subdivided though, right? It's separate properties.
That was all separate.
it was all
Yeah.
separate, it
That
was
was
all
all
separate
separate
that they managed to do it, because I was gonna be a part of that, and the hassle
was
we
all
were
separate
getting, we
lots.
just kinda stopped. And I know they gave Milford Town Green a hard time when he started, he said today, he goes, yeah, I was there, and they were meeting, and then all of a sudden, they're like, the third building was gone, and he goes, you can't do that, and he goes, yeah, I can, you approved it, so.
That was Cron in that group, and I
Yeah.
actually talked to them, and how they did it was 1,000 feet off the 3-lane is
Yeah.
commercial.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing on 6 going up. I actually talked to the people who actually wrote that, and I thought it was a good idea what they did. 1,000 feet off the main road, off the state highway, was commercial. When you go back from that, you either run into residential or low growth, and you gotta be careful of low growth, because low growth, there's a lot of that, you're in low growth. And you can put these storage facilities up there, what other things, there's a bunch of things. Oh, low growth, that's a scary one to me, I don't like it, to be honest with you. It should either be residential or commercial, but that's what they did.
Do you wanna
Yes,
push through?
Larry.
You can finish.
She had her hand up before me.
Okay.
Erica Burnett, 377 Foster Hill Road, Westfall Township. Going to what Mr. Gregor said before about letters coming in and possible, combining of properties from sitting here the past few months, I know that you've made it easier to erase lines when properties are joining together. Was this at all considered in your build-out analysis? And, it seems like there's a lot of potential to increase that number. And to say that the sewer is stopping at Apple
I'll answer
Valley,
your first question, Erica. The lot combination, the simpler thing that you're talking about, that's for lots that are already in an approved subdivision. So
Okay.
it's not for large parcels, it's only
Right.
for lots
We
that
covered
are in an
that.
already approved subdivision.
okay. Well, it still makes me nervous that letters are going out trying to consolidate properties that weren't taken into consideration in the build-out. And then, going back to the comprehensive plan and working with other townships and boroughs and coming together and we talked about that's how you get grant money, that's how you get funding to hire people who are planners. And to say they don't know anything, I think is kind of arrogant. To
It
say
might
that
be.
you guys know better than planners.
Oh, I've
I
had
don't know.
planners in here for the last 6 years. We spent a lot of money on them, and they've taken plates from other towns. and that's basically what happened. They just take a plate from another town and give it to you. And some of them plates don't all fit. And then after you adopt it, you learn things, you go, oh my God, what did we just do? So we kind of held back, because who knows best? Your planning commission. They live here. And actually, our planning commission, almost all of them have lived here almost all their lives. I
They
mean,
have,
so-
but many were brand new when this decision went through.
But they've
And-
lived here all their lives, they're looking out for the best of the township. They are residents who have been here since they were born till now, so they're looking out for what they think is the best interest of the township. They're not going anywhere, they're not moving anywhere, they're looking out for this, so really. when
They
you
are,
think
but they
about
might
it-
not have the education they need to make educated decisions.
I don't know of any township guys who go through that, schooling for that. None of our past ones did. Look at them, we had a dentist and.
Well, that's why I was saying, we've talked about getting
Got it.
together on the comprehensive plan to bring in professionals, and I think there's a lot going on, like you said, different options, and you seem unsure about how to move forward, so, just
I'm
going
relying
back to
on
the
the
comprehensive
planning commission.
plan. I wrote a letter to the paper also where, I said save our Milford, because yes, I am a Westfall Township resident. I leave my house, I must drive through Milford Township to get to the borough, to drive through the township, to go to my kids' school, to go shopping wherever. This is our community, and I just think you should hear what everyone in the community has to say.
Point taken.
Thank you.
I'm gonna call somebody new, in the back.
And Ryan is Milford Township. Run 6 properties. I understand that a few of the property owners up there have been approached by the real estate. And the theory that's coming out is that it's going to become an industrial park.
Could be,
Could be.
could be, I don't know, could be. I mean, it's commercial property up there, so if somebody wants to build up there,
All right?
they can
What
build.
did you say
They
about
fit the
1,000
zoning.
About the 1,000-foot rule?
Well, there's no ums. Most of the commercial property is in the commercial district. In other words, if you're looking at Lattimore, something like that, that's all in commercial. If you're looking at the one beyond 84, that's all in commercial. So if they wanted to build a building there, and it fits the zoning, you can't just arbitrarily say no.
All these lots up there, these 19, 20-acre lots, and consolidate, and put in an industrial building, a warehouse.
Where would that be?
That whole side of Route 6 up there.
I don't know where he's talking about.
I know what he's talking about, I haven't heard anything about that.
Yeah, I haven't heard
It's news
anything.
to me.
I was just thinking of the one.
Received registered.
It is all commercial.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
a first.
Real estate.
Well,
How
did
did
Mike
Mike
exit? It has to come through here, and we haven't gotten anything.
We've been approached.
Haven't heard
Do you
about
know
it.
somebody that can bring the letter in?
Yeah, but we haven't been approached.
We haven't been approached, yeah, we haven't.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Larry,
Larry Coder, Milford Township, as a resident. Would the supervisors seriously contemplate talking to the county commissioners and have the director of the county economic development department of the county attend a planning meeting with our township planners, or maybe even use the supervisors to shed some light on that view of pros and cons of the mixed-use amendment that we're all dealing with currently?
we could have him come to your meeting next week, maybe, if he doesn't have anything on his schedule. But it depends on if he's got something on his schedule. Now, what we could do is contact him and see
That's what I'm
if he could
asking.
make your meeting.
Would
And,
the supervisors do that?
You want to contact Mr. Salt.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I would rather go through the proper channels of the elected rather than the appointed.
Absolutely, not a problem. Not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you. In the back.
Peggy Emanuel, Milford Township. In reply to with what Erica was saying, you mentioned that you take your advisory from the Milford Planning Committee. Am I correct? Is that what you just said? Whatever the planning committee gives to you, you examine it, and then you make a decision.
what we do then is they send it to county planning first. During that time, yes, we get to look at whatever they put together. Then we make a public hearing on it, that's the way it's always done. We make a public hearing, and then you either pass that amendment or you don't pass that amendment. You give the public a chance to speak at that time. But that's how, yes, that's how it works. The planning commission, this has been done for 30 years this way. It's just, it's the same way. Because they are doing really what I call the dirty work of the supervisors.
Well, on that point, when the room was full at the first planning committee workshop that they had, and I don't even remember what month it was anymore. And Mr. Sechrist was sitting there, and they had a document, and they kept changing the wording to 100 apartments on 20 acres, 100 apartments on 20 acres, 100 apartments on 20 acres. I finally raised my hand, I'm sitting right in that seat, and I asked Mr. Sechrist, why are we working with 100 apartments on 20 acres? And his reply was, because that's what the supervisors want us to use. That's the number the supervisors want us to use.
I think I just explained all that.
You told the planning committee.
No, listen, I just explained it to everybody. We were at that 3,000 when they got it. They got it first at 3,000, and they sent it to county commission that way, at 3,000. We didn't like that idea, okay? County didn't have a problem with it, as we all know, but we got to examining properties. I just told you that. 2,800 apartments could go on that one piece of property up there. It scared the hell out of me. I called Penny right away. I said, Penny, this is crazy. They could put 2,800 apartments on one piece of land. We can't do that. We come back into a meeting. We all talked about it. We can't do this. There's got to be a cap on it. And that's what the county wanted, was a cap. Well, there you go. We went to 100. 100 apartments for 20 acres and more. That's how it came to be. So Seacrest was handed that by the supervisors. You're absolutely right. It's like sign ordinances. We hand that down to them. Hey, look, we need to do something about signs in Milford Township. They're not allowed certain signs. They should be allowed signs. Anybody who had a business here knows that it's really been capped, okay? So what we do is we direct it down to them, they examine it, they send it back to us. Now, he theoretically did not have to stick with 100 apartments. He used a number. He did all of his legwork, 40-page document on it, and did all of his legwork and found out, hey, it really wasn't as bad with 100 because there are properties that are 200 acres. And God forbid they ever put apartments on those and go to the 3,000 square foot because it would kill us. It would kill everybody.
Okay, my idea of a workshop is where you come in together, they, as well as you, the supervisors, work for the public, all right? You should listen to what we say, take it into advisement. That's what we thought we were coming to when we went to that workshop meeting, and that's not what happened. He went straight to that 100 apartments, 20 acres. There was no consideration at all of looking at the middle ground, which is what we thought was going to happen.
Well,
And
to your point again, you got to remember.
And I work with numbers as well, and I know that you can work with the same 100 and put them in several different places to make it look good.
Well,
So, which is I think what happened. I'm still reading that 40 pages
Well,
that
if
he
you worked
did.
with numbers,
so.
then he was also looking at the audience, and he was probably looking at how many township residents were showing up and who they were. I'm sure he was doing that. And he's also looking at there's 1,600 residents. So, and I remember a past chairman who was here, he said, nothing for nothing, but you gotta look at everybody, because you'll always have certain people. You listen to them, but you gotta remember there's people that can't be here, and they can also voice their opinion by anything in writing, or they can give you an email, hey, I'm against this, but, he's probably looking at everything. We had a person show up here from Greentown who wanted us to burn, or stop burning in our township. And we were like, are you kidding? Some residents really showed up on that one. Gary was here. They wanted us to stop burning barrels or anything you were doing outside with burning. But they weren't even from here, they were from Greentown. Now the residents spoke and said, hey, you can't be listening to that. And we listened, All right, next.
Bonnie LaFay, Milford Township resident since 1991. I have a question, Gary. Why are we just talking apartments and not condos? Because you have a whole different clientele of people that are gonna rent apartments, and I don't know where you're finding them for $2,000 a month, versus someone who's ownership, who has simple ownership?
Because there seems to be, I just explained that, there seems to be a high demand for apartments in this area.
No, there's a high demand for condos or townhomes.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I think Milford Borough has some apartments down there, probably quite a few, and Milford, Matamoros
I'm not
has
talking
quite a
about- I'm
few.
saying
and
you
I'm
did-
just looking at the areas, and, you know, people don't want to invest in a condo all the time. And the reason why is because they're only here temporarily, so what they'll do is,
So that's the best thing for a snowbird,
Well,
a
no.
condo.
a snowbird, a condo is the best thing for
Yes,
them?
versus a single-family home.
Oh, okay. You would know, actually.
I would know.
Yeah, you would know. Like
But
I
I
said,
just don't understand why everybody's talking apartment. Why not, well, I think this gentleman said townhouse or condos.
yeah.
Because you get a whole different clientele of people, and they're more invested in the community. They're not transient like a lot of tenants are.
Yeah. Well, I think,
And then my concern is also if these cannot rent for that high dollar amount in our area, that is a high dollar amount in our area, what's gonna stop them from moving in like Section 8?
nothing, it's already going on in the neighboring towns. It's already,
Well,
we
that's a
already know
big
that.
concern. That's a huge concern.
Yeah, it would be, except for if you're gonna build high-end, I don't think you're gonna do that.
We don't have to build high-end. Who said high-end?
I'm just saying, if somebody's gonna come in and build high-end, I don't think that's gonna happen. Reason why is they gotta be accountable for the money. I
But
just see
we
that.
don't have to go high-end.
It hasn't been a definition of what
No,
neighborhood apartments are.
I'm just saying, if they go high-end, anybody who
Who
builds
is it
places
gonna-
like this today, usually goes more high-end than low-end.
There's a big
Usually.
call for townhouses and condos. Milford Landing, there's nothing for sale. There's nothing for rent.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't be opposed to 100 condos, then, is what you're saying?
I don't like the 100, but that's a whole nother story.
Okay.
I'm just saying now, everybody's talking apartment.
And I consider it mixed use. I think it should be apartments and condos.
Mixed use is fine, I'm just saying,
Yes, mixed
why
use is
just
mixed
apartments
use.
where all we're
Yeah.
getting is tenants in the area?
Your ordinance doesn't differentiate between dwelling
Yeah,
units that are
yeah.
owner occupied and
Yeah,
not
it doesn't
owner
matter
occupied.
which one it is.
No, but
Okay.
there's a big difference,
Could.
there's a big difference when you have a development where there's a management company running it versus individual homeowners.
With an
Huge di-
HOA.
Huge difference.
Rachel,
Gary, I just want to circle back. Several times you said, I'm going to rely on my planning commission, I'm going to rely on my planning commission, I'm going to rely on my planning commission. And I just want to point out how very, very unusual it is to have a 100% turnover on planning commission in a 6 month. Now we're starting to turn it over almost a second time, and it's only
we are?
the
We had
ninth
one
month.
person drop out. I don't think we're turning it over a second time. We've had one.
No, you had Harry Forbes before that.
He never got in.
I know.
never got in.
I
He
know,
never
but
got
what
in.
I'm saying is, the positions are turning over and turning over.
One
Usually you
position,
have,
one
you
position.
usually have some folks who have been there longer guiding the new people. And Milford Township is not in that position at this time, because you don't get people who have experience planning or degrees planning volunteering for a planning commission in most communities. But usually you have people that have sat at that table a little longer, guiding the people that are brand new, and we don't have that right now. I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I think, I'm not gonna knock our planning commission. I think for people who just come in the door and actually probably been watching it all their lives, are doing a good job. I would not knock them and say, hey, you guys aren't doing a good job, because I think they are. Actually, they were picking up on things that the old planning commission did not do, as you know, with filling out those reports at the year's end. They have not been done in 20 years, but
And whose responsibility is it to remind the volunteer board that they're supposed to be doing that? That would go back to the township administration. and
for
to
20 years,
to
it would go
that
back to the administration. You're right, 20 years. You're right, 20 years. Yes.
Gary, the concern I think a lot of people have too is the fact that you say that you don't have an application before you, and yet the developers are here every meeting. At one meeting, Mr. Olmsted even offered to do a public presentation of the project that they're proposing. So It seems to me that we're at odds here with that. It's
There's no
hard.
application. If he want, it's up to anybody to say here, as you know. It's not just Milford Township
But it's for
residents. We
that
have,
specific property.
they have an interest. They
Right.
Like any developer, before the changes were made in a city nearby here, I was watching what was going on. The developer sat there for a year and never put in a proposal on the project, but they knew he wanted a certain project. So what they had to do
Right.
was change some zoning. So of course he's gonna sit there and he's gonna watch to see how it goes, to see whether or not, hey, can I develop the property this way, or can I not? Do I have to go the other way?
Or the
There's
question,
nothing
or the
wrong with
question
that.
might be, can you settle for 100 apartments on 20 acres? Would that work for you? That's what people are wondering.
What are you talking about, him? Whether he could
The
settle for 100?
developer, absolutely.
Well,
Will
it's not
100
up to us
apartments
to
work?
ask a developer how many apartments they want.
Well,
It's not up to me to say to them, how many apartments you want. We're just taking some numbers here. He has not put in an application.
I
Now, if he had put in
understand
an
there's no
application, that'd be a
application.
different
But
story.
rather than make it about the number of apartments, what if we made it about the number of acres?
Okay.
Maybe the entry point should be 25 acres.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
Yeah, we gotta get moving on. Reason why, we're 45 minutes into this public comment period here.
We're gonna have another, we're gonna have a public hearing before the ordinance is passed anyway.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we do have to get moving along. Correspondence.
I've got a couple of right-to-know requests from Rachel Hendricks.
That's not correspondence.
It's on course.
Yeah, that's not correspondence. I'm sorry, I was off today. Couldn't get back in.
Okay, I got a letter from Katie Emanuel for a position in
Okay.
planning committee.
Do they have it?
I just got it.
Yeah, well, okay.
Print shop of Milford. It's from Jeff and Bobby Siddle. After nearly 30 years of serving the tri-state area, Bobby and I have sold the print shop of Milford to Spring Hill Laser Services in Starling, Pennsylvania. Viola Canals wrote this letter. She is asking me to appoint as the secretary treasurer, and she wants to continue as the assistant secretary treasurer. She also wants to appoint me as the open records officer.
who was that?
Bye.
Viola.
Before we do that?
Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me? No, we're just talking about what she just said.
It's from Eugene Porterfield. It's a memo from Pike County Assessment Office. There's a schedule for the real estate assessment appeal hearings for October 9, 2019.
Oh, you're supposed to.
No, we're not done. We already got the letter.
Okay, so
That's where we switch. Before that.
This one is from Rosalie Hutchison. It's on behalf of Eugene G. Pascal, the Auditor General. This email is being sent on behalf of the Honorable Eugenie G. Pascal, Pennsylvania Auditor General. I'm pleased to announce that the 2019 Commonwealth State Aid allocation supporting the Volunteer Fire Relief Association of the fire company which served your community is scheduled to be direct deposited on September 16, 2019 in the amount of $11,713.56. It must be paid within 60 days to VFRA. This one is from Brian Snyder, the community planner of Pike County Planning. The Pike County Road Task Force meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, September 24 at 10 a.m. This one is from Kathleen Sand she is the public affairs specialist of National Park Service. Lower Hornbeck's Creek Trail reopens on September 17. Jack A. Kurtz from the president of EM Kurtz. He said that it is with great sorrow that we announce the passing of Matt Leonard. This one is Earth Disturbance Inspection Report. It's for Milford Highlands, and there are no violations at this time. Marianne Conza from Lehman Township. She wrote, at this year's convention, a new secretary of the Tri-County Association of Township Officials will need to be appointed. Finally, this one is from Angela Witowski. She is the program manager of Pennsylvania Environmental Council. The Northeast Environmental Partners are now accepting reservations for the 29th annual evening for Northeast Pennsylvania's environment. You are cordially invited. That's it.
Thank you, Shauna.
You're welcome.
Okay, under old business, the only thing I have is for Rachel. And Rachel, the budget is being redone. Reason why is there was some screw-ups in it when I went over it and reviewed it. Some truck repairs were put into office materials. So that's why that was so high. So things are going to be shifted, and then you'll get your documents. But that's what happened. Things were moved into the wrong departments. In other words, all the money is there. It just you take it out all differently. Okay, yeah, wrong column. Yeah. I just wanted her to know that that's what happened.
Okay, I did get Shawna's 30-day extension.
Yeah, that's so we can go over it. Okay, under new business, it's secretary, and at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we change Viola Canals to assistant secretary and assistant treasurer, and also she will be assistant right-to-know officer. I am making a motion on that.
What is that again?
For Viola, she's stepping down and Shawna's stepping up.
Ah, okay.
You gotta make that a whole motion.
And also, do you want me to include Shawna? Okay, and then also does Shawna become the secretary, the lead secretary, and treasurer, and right-to-know officer.
I'll
But
second
not the
that.
tax.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you
There's
know
no
the-
changes in money, we're
Any
changing
information in
positions.
your
Bai
motions?
is backing down. Bai is starting to work a lot less. She's
Right, right.
I
getting
said,
older.
do you not include the pay information in your motions?
The pay increase, there is no change in pay.
There's no change in pay.
Now,
this
we're
time.
just changing the positions around.
Okay.
Reason why is Bai is, as you know, is not here much.
Mr. Clark, I would ask that the motion also include notification to the bonding company that Shahana is now the secretary treasurer and that Vi is the assistant.
There you go. I'll make a motion that we get a hold of the bonding company to change the status of Shahana and Viola Canals. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, done. Okay, Shahana, now you're the lead. Any other public comment?
I have a question.
I have I'm sorry.
Oh, wait, you got new business?
No, I have a call for an executive session regarding litigation matter.
Okay, that'll be,
At the end.
okay. Yes.
Viola will remain the tax collector, however?
Tax collector's an elected position.
That's an
has
elected
nothing
position.
to do with us.
We have nothing to do with that.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's nothing
Okay,
to
so
do with it.
nothing has changed in that.
No.
Yeah, she was elected in last year, the year before.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Doug Housekeeper from Shakopee. Do you have any idea why they're taking a survey of utility, water and utility? I got a call the other day. I never have gotten it before. And when I asked who they represented, they hung up.
Oh, it's
Couldn't
a
get in.
scammer.
I know, it might be, but, you know, I never got one before about water and utility.
It's
not a legitimate phone call.
Anybody have, I didn't know.
Constable, not a legitimate phone call?
No, I receive them constantly all week long. So
Yeah, I'm not aware of the Milford Water Authority.
I have quite interesting repertoire upon that because I used to be part of ICANN, which is the American Registry of the Internet. And quote unquote, my business, Haken Electrical Mechanics, is worth like $20 million. So that's why I basically moved here just to hide and get away from all that crap.
Okay.
And the other thing, I just wondered where the water would be coming from the housing, if it does go through, where the, you know, whether it would affect the table, water table and stuff? And
No, because they, housing, anything down in this area, even up on Milford Hill, they would probably pay for water services out of Milford Borough. Milford Borough right now actually drains off a lot more water than they'd like to.
a day.
Million gallons a day.
A million gallons a day goes over that they'd
Down
like
the
to actually,
Sawkill Road.
they'd like to sell it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I was really hoping Hershey would get that contract, but they didn't. Anybody else? Yes,
I just wanted to also
Amy
comment.
Eisenberg.
Amy Eisenberg, Milford Township. I also wanted to comment, this gentleman raised a point about folks coming here for tourism. As someone who is in a tourist business, tourist retail in Milford for 26 years, I think it's fair to consider our neighbors at Meyer Motel and the Fairbridge Inn and the impact that any development on this property would have on their ability to do business. I know that it becomes very unattractive to rent a hotel room on top of apartments. I know as someone who travels, that's not the hotel I'm looking for, certainly not if I'm going hiking, fishing, whatever it might be out for recreation. They are taxpayers, they are your constituents. My other concern was, you made a point of saying we have 1,600 residents, and I do know that this room is full of the usual suspects, and I'm sure some of us you're tired of seeing.
I'm not tired of seeing.
Okay, good, because I like showing up for you here.
Actually, it's nice, well, you give me different perspectives on things.
But I think it would be unfair to assume that, especially with the commuter culture that we have in Pike County, that because folks aren't showing up at this meeting, it would be unfair to assume that they don't care and that this is not on their radar. And I think that warrants further exploration, further public comment, a public hearing prior to the zoning amendment. In all fairness, it might be appropriate to have a public hearing, a pre-public hearing to the public hearing.
No, we're not gonna do that. We're gonna do a public hearing the right way, the legal way. We have to stick legally.
Don't you
I
just
don't wanna
announce
get into any illegal meetings.
No, it's gotta be advertised
Oh,
and everything,
yeah.
yeah.
That would be very bad for our township. We have to stay within the legal limits of things, okay? We're gonna stay that way. Listen, it either goes through or it doesn't. That's the bottom line. And I know what you're talking about with residents. I get around to a lot of residents being as I work on the roads, okay? And you would not believe the amount of them that just don't care. They really just don't care.
I wouldn't believe that.
Yeah, well, you probably wouldn't, but if they cared, they'd be here, trust me. They just, they're, like they say, they say it doesn't really affect them, the farm, if somebody were to build on the farm, there is no farm, because there's no farms really left around here anymore. We had one down where Kmart is and all that. There are no farms, and the reason why is it's too taxy, and you just can't make it on tomatoes, trust me. It doesn't work these days. But anyway, there are those residents who just, shrug it off and they just go, it is what it is.
So you'll go on public record with a member of the press here as saying that there are people in this township who don't care because they haven't shown
No,
up
they don't
at
care
a
about
meeting.
the amendment that we're passing. That's what they said. When I ask them about it and I say, hey, listen, what do you think about 100 units on that? Well, how many properties? 6. That's it. And they're like, because they're looking at neighboring ones, which are really expanding big time and much bigger than that. And they're going, well, that's not too bad. And I said, well, I just would like to know what your opinion is. Oh, we don't care. That's what I get. We don't care. Well, okay. And I walk away. Then there's other ones who will actually tell you, yeah, I think it's a great idea. We need some more businesses. That's what they'll say. We need some more businesses.
Would it have been appropriate to pose that question to constituents prior to a zoning amendment and paying Mr. Magnotta hours upon hours of legal services to deal with this room full of folks and right to no request?
It's funny, we've done a lot
And
of
the planning
things,
commission?
we've done a lot of things here that if we had reached out every time, nothing would pretty much get done. The dog kennel thing, did you know anything about that until we actually brought it in? You were here for it. Did you know anything about it?
I didn't, no.
Okay, there you go. But what it was doing was protecting the residents from, and there's one of them in the back, from having a kennel next to his house, okay? So that's what we're looking at. Mixed use, we're actually looking ahead, not behind. We're trying to be proactive rather than reactive, because right now we could be on the reactive side, I've told you that. Okay, next, couple more questions, then we gotta go to executive meeting. Fred?
Quick question, so Why was a referendum never considered? Like you said before, it was a very good point, we have 1,600 voting constituents in the township, and this way at least you would have a form and opinion.
You know, yeah, for a zoning amendment,
I don't
can you
think
imagine?
referendum would be allowed for a zoning.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't just put a referendum on the board. You
Yeah,
gotta get
just-
permission from the county commissioners.
and they probably might laugh at you on
Intermunicipal
that.
agreement for the sewer would qualify that.
It may.
Yeah, that's a big project, that could be, that could, but you know what, they're not. Curious.
Intermunicipal agreement is one of the legal reasons to have.
One more question.
I just have a question and a comment. During the public hearing on this, are you just limiting Milford Township residents, or could Milford Borough residents speak as well, or people from Westfall?
Right now, it's, I tried to change it, but it's not, it's everybody.
You haven't
You can
limited
come
anyone
from
yet,
New York
so I
City and
can't
we're gonna listen to you,
imagine
but what we will do is we're gonna put a time limit on, and the reason why we'll do that is because if we don't, we'd never get to vote on it at the end of the time, and you never, and not only that, but we would vote on it, and not all residents would be able to speak, or non-residents, or whoever. So you have to put some kind of a cap on it, because otherwise, something might take an hour, you know what I'm saying? So that would happen, but yes, as far as listening to everybody, one more, Rachel.
I have a question on another topic.
Thank you.
There is something that has been going around on Facebook about this Soft Hill Bridge closure, and I wasn't able to confirm a source, but they were saying that, that the backup plan is not going to happen, and that when that bridge closes, they are not going to have an alternate bridge available, that PennDOT is expected to go to bid for 2020 construction and a minimum of 6 months of closure of that bridge. Have you all been engaged in that in any way, shape, or form? Do we
Never
have
heard
any
that. Never heard that,
definitive
Rachel.
I didn't hear that either, because there is actually a lower bridge there that will handle 80,000 pounds with the Metzen Bridge. You know,
The
Can't
Metzen.
make the turn.
Right.
Yeah, they couldn't make the
Right,
turns, but they could still
certainly
handle traffic. I heard they wanted to do one way and then another way. But I'll tell you what, I'll call Harrisburg tomorrow and I will find out,
It
because
was,
I'm
there
curious.
were comments attributed to Commissioner Osterberg, but I couldn't tell what, I did ask the people who posted it, and I didn't get any responses about where was the source of the information. But I think that's an absolutely critical point in time for our community, if that bridge is going to be closed for 6 months. If we are already in an emergency services crisis, if we now take our volunteers running the ambulance, and every time they have to go to Jersey, they have to spend an extra hour doing it, you know, it's going to really further strain
Why do they
an
go to
already
Jersey?
strained system. They often go wherever
You go to the
the
hospital?
emergency
Oh, you don't
permits.
go to the closest
and-
hospital?
No, they go where the emergency permits
Yeah.
and where the person requests to the extent possible.
I
Go to
mean, I
Homestead,
heard
go to
that
Stroud.
last year, Rachel, I didn't hear it again come up.
It
And
was
I just
something
knew that it was gonna be crazy to try to figure out, and I thought they were gonna reinforce Metz's Bridge. But the Blue Bridge,
Mockbridge, I had heard that they were gonna make one-way vehicular traffic, and
And
this
then-
was acknowledging that that bridge is only going to be,
Pedestrian.
beginning to be under construction for pedestrian use,
yeah,
nothing for highway traffic.
yeah.
And so we have, you know, if that's where this is going, and PennDOT was, according to this, plowing ahead with 2020 construction,
I would
bidding
guess that the
for
commissioners probably would be the ones that are gonna try to put up.
There was nothing brought up at the road task force meeting last week.
Okay,
At
is
the
that
last
something
meeting.
that you all can check on and,
Please.
thank you.
Yes, tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yes, you can speak. Your name, please?
My name is Jim DePetris. I am the equitable owner of one of the 6 properties that are being considered with the amendment. And we have to confirm that there's been no application by us made to the township. We would like to develop the Santos Farm. Our reputation is very strong. You can Google us down in Monroe County and see the product that we do. And I would just tell you that mixed use is in. It's in all over the country, and there is a demand here for it. People are living, they're walking to coffee shops, shopping, eating, and we think this is a fabulous opportunity, and we hope to have the opportunity to do it. And if we build it it will be a project that all the residents will be very proud of.
Well, if you like the one in Maryland, I saw that one. That's the cream of the crop. How much is an apartment there? 4,000, 4,500?
So, but anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
I request an executive session.
Yeah, and it's granted. And executive session? Personnel.
Oh, you don't want to wait, you want to.
Tax appeals,
That's all.
yeah,
That's all.
tax appeals. They are at 10:30 and 10:45.
I'm just gonna say that. I mean, okay, we're back from our executive session. I want to make a motion that we send Tony Magnata, our solicitor, to the tax appeals. We have two of them on October 9th at 10:30. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Also, I'm going to make a motion that Viola Canals, we, from this point forward, we're going to not be reimbursing for the supplemental health care that we have been paying. And the reason why, just so everybody knows, is because their hours are down, way down. So we're not going to be paying that forward from here on.
From this month?
From here past, yes, but from here on, no. The reason why there was a motion made years ago for her to be paid on a part, even though she's part-time for that. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, did I explain that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The litigation was the tax appeals? That's what mattered was?
Yes. Yeah, tax two, side by side.
10:30, 10:45.
Two neighbors.
Yeah. You don't win them a lot of times, but you gotta try.
Okay. I'll make a motion, we pay the bills and adjourn.
Keep this letter. Keep that letter. All in favor?
Aye.
Jesse did not answer your question. What was your question?
So,